All right, ready to go live. Here we go. This could take forever too. Like, I mean, hey, I could go live. This could be like, who knows? Okay, we're live. Everything's very slow.
Like the NHL schedule's about to be.
Why? All right.
Okay, then.
We're gonna chat about the Flyers game, Mac. You go get a different computer.
You sure? Maybe we'll talk about dental work there.
Yeah. So let's talk about this Flyers game and the X sign out. You got the echo going too.
Going Maddie.
All right. Let's talk about this Flyers game that was canceled. You had shown a tweet. I have to say I'm really annoyed with the Eagles because the NFL really is the 800-pound gorilla now. And even the Eagles almost don't care about any of the other teams in the city. So all they cared about was, hey, we got open parking spots now.
Yeah,
like literally.
Like that's all they can. And I get it from their customer. Again, on a normal Sunday schedule, this would be the normal procedure. I guess people were wondering heading down the arena, does it still stand at the moment? That there's going to be, and that's it. I guess they say our responsibility is to our customers, and that's that.
No, but the idea was Flyers season ticket holders who paid for spots might not have gotten their spots because of the way the Eagles were handling this too.
No,
and
I thought they said that the Flyers spot, at least the 20,000 spots would have been Flyers exclusive. That would have been
they said it. But people were saying to say it and to have it actually happen were going to be two different things. So luckily, we never had to find out.
This is true. And again, we looked at this situation coming into this, that this was going to be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
On Tuesday. And, I just had a feeling that this was how it was going to end up. One way or the other. That this was how it was going to end up. There were far too many variables, especially once the league had made the decision to go to Wednesday, but try to squeeze in these last two games. And even then, I was of the opinion, I'm like, they haven't changed the times.
No.
For me, that was kind of a tip-off because it was going to be difficult anyway and inconvenient, really difficult for fans to get down there because we don't normally have an Eagles and Flyers game kind of coincide.
No, we've had Phillies Flyers.
Yes.
But that's less fans. That's a lot less fans.
Right. And then of course normally under Eagles schedule, it would be late, it would be with the concern be earlier in the season, but they're able to schedule around that. We never had the sort of convergence at the exact same time, involving teams from the exact same city coming in. How about that for a
which is another oddity.
Right.
I could also picture at around 5:00, the Capitals and like the Redskins coming from the airport with like a police escort and everybody having to move over and make the traffic worse so they could actually get to the game. You could picture that, couldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. And I think there's some, I think I heard a report, there's still some players they have to fly in that they may need to do that for the
Redskins
football team.
Oh yeah, sorry, I said the Redskins.
At this point now, it's just called WTF.
Yeah.
At this point now, instead of
it might be Taylor Heineke, like the quarterback may come in last.
I mean, listen, the funny part is he could. When I heard, actually, I think like Reese on WIP said they can come in at any point of the game if they're listed as active. They can come in second quarter or whenever to play. So that's strange enough to begin with. But again, getting back to hockey.
Yes.
It just, to me, there was too many variables that were going to be a concern with this. So I was in full on, I'll believe, and much like you, I was in full on, I'll believe it when I see it, when this thing gets pulled off. And I knew there were still further tests that still had to be made on both sides, just because the Flyers didn't have any additional positives since Kevin Hayes.
Yeah. Although, what's Carter Hart? We don't even know what his status is.
So at the moment, we know that his status is he doesn't have COVID. He's not.
Okay, we do know that now.
Going to be playing tonight. Martin Jones was scheduled to be. He was last one out. I should say he was first one out. So Jones would have been starting this game tonight.
Okay.
That we do know. I think he's not. Whatever the illness was it sounds like he had some. To me, I don't know what exactly it was.
No, but it was some other non-COVID illness, which was unclear until now.
A nasty virus that went through him that wasn't COVID. And again, that's what that's not official or anything.
No, nothing's official.
It's very obvious that he didn't have his legs under him,
right?
Enough that they were going to start him this evening anyway. Now he might have been backing up. Sure. Well, actually, I don't even know. Was Sandstrom loaned? I had to check. Was Sandstrom loaned back?
I thought he was loaned back.
I think at this point he was because after cancellation, but I think he had already been loaned back already. So,
all right. So let's do this. That was
You're back.
I'm back. I tried to use an old computer because I'm borrowing my son's computer because my laptop's is on the fritz, and it's like it just didn't work. Computers from like 3 years ago just don't work. Anyway, here we go.
It was like Back to the Future. It was like we were on dial-up for you. That's what it was like.
It was horrible. Oh my god. All right, what's the date? 21st?
Oh, forget that. We're past all that.
21st, yeah. Hello, Hockey Buzz. Hello, Hockey World. It's December 21st, Tuesday. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com with Jan Levine, Anthony Mangiani, and Russ Cohen. And we are all here today to talk about a sport that doesn't exist for the next couple of days, but we're going to do our best to get you through this with some fun stuff that we have here and get you into the holiday spirit at least. As the game is still on tonight, right? There's still a game tonight?
Still one game, possibly.
Maybe.
Hasn't been canceled
possibly, and that depends. But as of right now, there seems to be only one right now.
Yeah. Well, at least you don't have to deal with the traffic tonight for the Eagles and the Flyers playing at the same time. That's something
right.
That's sort of a bonus because that was going to be a mess. But anyway, this is there's supposed to be. I think I heard somebody say there's supposed to be like 35 games this week, and there were 2 or something like that. Something ridiculous, like some kind of crazy thing.
I think there was 45 canceled in the last 8 days, something like that.
Yeah. So we're gonna. Now, are they taking a long enough time? I mean, the way it came out yesterday, obviously they're coming back on the 26th to get tested to play on the 27th, which would be Monday, so a week from yesterday. So are they taking a long enough break here to make this matter?
Well, so I would say the interesting part I just saw is Adam Silver did his press conference, right? And the one piece I took out of it was they have no intention of canceling games right now. Their view is there's a virus. We have to deal with it. We have to work our way through it. He did admit that the largest percentage of those people who are testing positive are those who are unvaccinated. There were breakthrough cases, boosters.
Sorry, Mike.
We're getting musical accompaniment.
We're gonna get Mike.
Those that had the vaccine. So it's kind
we're
of
getting Mike's iPod. That's bad.
Adam,
no. I muted myself and then somebody friggin' unmuted me. What the? Jesus Christ!
We're in the holiday spirit today, people.
Oh yeah,
Michael Jello coming in.
Michael Jello with the bah humbug movement today already.
Sisters. Okay. No. All right. So,
so I mean, I'd say it's kind of interesting that Adam Silver came out with that as we're dealing with the prism of the NHL canceling games. The official announcement, I guess we can still call it, that they're not going to the Olympics, though they haven't formally released a statement yet. And so it's just the dichotomy between the two leagues and how they're managing both very similar situations.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I could say with the two leagues is there's fewer players in the NBA. They could space them out on the bench. They don't have to have the same kind of training. They don't really, their warm up in the NBA is really like minuscule, like compared to what the NHL players go through for their warm ups to actually get their bodies going. So I do think they have some edges in those kinds of things. And so, I'm not shocked at that. I think the NHL is doing the right thing, but I don't think they're starting on the 27th. I think they're starting like January 1st, because I think what's going to happen is they're going to come back and they're going to find more positives than they're hoping to find.
Well, I don't think they're going to start on the. I think they're going to start on the 27th whenever possible. I'll cite an example that I wrote about in my blog today. The Leafs just had 4 more positives. Kampf, I think Sandin, Mrazek, and Mikheyev. So that's now 11 players. That's half of their roster. Those guys are not going to be back within the 10 days. The guys who tested positive just before they postponed their last 4 games, those guys might be back, but they may not be back. If that's the case, what are you going to do? Play half of the Toronto Marlies? They'll probably cancel their first game against Columbus on the 27th. But once that first group is back, they'll play games. They have to, Russ. They have to play games.
Oh, I get it, but
Why?
again,
there's a 3-week window now.
Yeah, but
you don't have arenas, but there is.
I'm
sure they're working
on
on alternate strategies right now to figure a way to play, because that was the rumor that came out last night when they said they were canceling it. They're going to use that time frame to try to get games in.
but I heard
about that
but
like 3 days ago, and just that's when I talked to people at the NHL, that's unquestionably what they were thinking of doing. They're thinking of taking it longer. I think what they're I think the 26th, honestly, I mean, for now they don't want, you don't want to say you're not playing on the 27th or that week or anything like that. You don't want to say that if they don't have to. But I think on the 26th is going to be like a big time temperature taking of what's going on. Like they're going to see where they're at, and
literally and figuratively.
Yes, exactly. And if they are not, if the numbers are like where they are now or worse, or unless the numbers have decreased drastically, I don't think you will see it until New Year's. I think that's very possible. I think
now once the Olympic thing, and I think that's what they're kind of waiting on at this point right now. But I think especially now that you have a February cushion now, you have a few weeks to be able to figure out how you can take care where you can place these postponed games. That kind of also plays a little bit of a role here. If we do go, in this case, the NBA doesn't have any place to put. The other issue is for the NBA's, unlike the NHL, they don't have any place really to put those games.
Right.
The NHL does have. That's the advantage the NHL has in this circumstance.
It behooves them to it's a big advantage for the NHL, no question about it, having that schedule. And it's almost like if you had COVID, knowing you're going into this year and you didn't have the Olympics, you would have still probably tried to do something like that. Like it would have been a smart move to give yourself like a 2-week period in there, at least, maybe not as long as they have, but it's just a period in there that you could say that's for making up games.
Yeah, but here's the problem with shutting down for, say, till January 1st. Okay, so you're shutting down so that everybody, I think the thing that Frank Cervalli tweeted out was 118 players, something like that. Mm-hmm. You're shutting down so all those players who are positive pass through the disease and are negative. So they're back able to play. 99% of them hopefully would be able to. That doesn't protect the ones who have been negative. This Omicron variant, they say, is 70 times more transmissible than Delta. So by waiting, all you're doing, you're not solving it's not like all of a sudden you're cleansing everybody and it's going to be a clean environment. People are going to get it anyway. So you're going to have to deal with it whether you pause or you don't pause. So you don't pause.
No, I don't totally agree.
Are you the kind of guy who would be like, having your kids go to chickenpox parties, and just be like, everyone had to do a chickenpox party so we can get everybody.
With chickenpox is you get it once, you don't normally get it again.
Right, but that actually existed years ago.
No, I'm not taking a page from the miniseries John Adams, where the cure for smallpox was to give people smallpox.
Yeah, put everybody together.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
But here's the one thing that's being forgotten. There are people that work at these arenas that are close to the players. There are people with the clubs that work with the clubs that are close with the players. This isn't just about the players. And that's why when players like Connor Hellebuck talk about, like, I can't go to the Olympics and this really stinks and why are we pausing? He sounds like a kid because there's a lot more involved than just you and what you want.
But
Russ, Benjamin made a similar comment.
Thank you. He's not the only one. The players who are asymptomatic that are positive are basically saying, why the hell are we not playing? That's what they're saying.
Well, I just gave you the reasons why.
Right. But the NFL, they're not testing asymptomatic players. The NBA
and do you
is
think what the
suit.
NFL is doing is right?
No, but that's what the league wants, and that's what the player
You didn't hear the
wants.
scenario for tonight's game with the Eagles and the Redskins, them flying in guys last minute. They don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. This is going to decide the playoffs. Do you want to just play?
It was Garrett Gilbert starting for the Redskins tonight.
It may be, and it may not be.
Well, Nick Mullins is a Pro Bowler based on last night for the Cleveland Browns.
No, but the idea is, I think the NHL is trying to avoid this and have this be a joke of a season too.
Yeah, I think they are too, and honestly, like, you got to remember, like, you know, I mean, there's NFL players with all the people that are on the sidelines, all the people that are around those guys. It's just totally irresponsible. It's ridiculous. I mean, it really is. Because yeah, you're asymptomatic, but and I know, and you know, this virus, you know, we can all sit there and say, like I said before yesterday, we can vastly overrate or vastly underrate this thing at any given time. So to sit here and try to say that we have any idea what we're talking about is, you know, I know that sometimes we're overrating it. Sometimes we're making more out of it than it is. For sure, that's 100% happening. But that's not dangerous. You know, dangerous is underrating it. Yeah. And the reality is that we have to remember that. And unfortunately, you know, it is going to basically just run its way through the league. You know, that is what's going to happen. I mean, I joke about the chickenpox party, but that's actually what is happening. You know, like the Flyers, you know, they'll tell you flat out they feel like they haven't had to shut down yet because they went through such a bad thing last year. You know, so they feel like a lot of their players have more immunity than other players because of that. You know,
and that may be true.
And it might very well be true. We don't know. I mean, we don't know how much immunity you have. There's so many unknowns. We have no idea what we're talking about. So, like, the reality is we have to be careful for the people who are coming in contact with the people who come in contact with other people. You know, that's what we're looking at here. It's like, we're not looking at the players. We're not even looking at the fans. We're looking at fans' parents. We're looking at fans, you know, the players, who the players see. And, you know, because if the players test, there's a reality. If the players aren't tested and they're asymptomatic, they're just going everywhere. At least if we test them, they're staying home. They're being careful. If we don't test asymptomatic players, those players are just going to the mall. They're going to this. They're going to that.
Yeah. I mean, do the players want to play the games with no fans, no refs? You know, a robot drops the puck and they go and play, and there you go. You got your game in. Like, is that, you know, you don't want that.
No, it's unfortunate, but it's the best time of the year for it to happen right now because you can actually. This week is the good week to do this. This is the way. This is the time to do it. You know, I really think. I'm not saying it's perfect, but at least, you know, we have, especially with given the news of the Olympics. Now, the Olympics have not been officially announced yet.
Yeah, but it's
everybody. I mean, I talked to a player who, you know, I talked to two players who were going, who said we're not going now. You know, flat out told me that. But
yeah, but you know what's interesting? Again, they made the NHL come out and say they're going to have to, or at least sources, they're going to have to enact a lot of games were canceled, so we had to shut off the Olympics for you, rather than the players stepping up and saying, you know what, we're not going to go because this is not the right time to go. Instead, they're making the NHL do it.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm sorry, and the players can. I'm sure a player will comment on this if and when they see me. They are gutless. They really are. It's like, honestly, the responsibility here is to the teams that hire you, the teams that are paying you good money. And, you know, honestly, I think the reason that they're not being dragged kicking and screaming into this is because probably the league told them, well, we can't guarantee the 82 game schedule, so the 80% that you're going to be, you know, making after escrow, that'll be 70%, and that's why they're not raising a shit fit about it. But honestly,
I think it's the human rights issue that they're not mentioning also, and by not having to bring that up, the NHL in essence enables the players not to have to comment on this. And they can fall back on the schedule, as opposed to saying that they may not want to go to Beijing, which might be the case more so to a certain extent than even what's going on in terms of COVID. That's the puzzle that has not been formally talked about.
Well, Jan, I hope that's the case, but because I've been talking about
finances are a part also. I don't think any of us are still stupid enough to say it's not, right. We're not as blind as that. Finances are a clear component. I'm not going to say the escrow piece is, but when Bettman comes out and says we're basically almost at par from where we were several years ago, and we know that 2 years down the road, if you stay at this pace, the escrow component will drop off where you've paid back the $1 billion, and now you can raise the cap in about 2 more years to a more reasonable level. That clearly is an impact as well, especially when you now have relationships with ESPN, TNT, and several other big sponsors that are now sponsoring the league, as opposed to what you had a couple of years ago, even during COVID.
Yeah, I mean, the NHL doesn't want a Daryl Morey moment where China turns against them. But honestly, it's like, I mean, it would be refreshing if the reason that they weren't going is because of the, you know, human rights violations with the Uyghurs.
I'd stand right behind them on that.
Yeah, exactly. But that I think that they were prepared to ignore that to go, you know, for national pride and whatever. But now I think they're making the NHL look like the bad guy if the NHL has to be the one to come out by themselves and not with the PA to say we're not going to the Olympics. I think that would be petty.
There's something you have to realize about that, though. I mean, we always think of the NHL and the NHLPA at cross purposes, right? Like they always think they're going to negotiate, one negotiates against the other. They try to get the way. Honestly, the NHL should, if both sides are in a good relationship, the NHL should be the ones who take the hit on this.
I disagree.
No, because the players.
Why not, Russ?
Why not?
I'll tell you why. Because fans already think the NHL has bad tendencies for things that they do, and they're already going to start complaining that this is the NHL's fault. And I don't think that's right. I don't think you should perpetuate that. I don't.
But this isn't anyone who says it's the NHL or the NHLPA players or anybody's fault is just
what they are. They're going to.
The people are always going to say that, but I don't think anyone cares about that input because, to be honest, it really just is totally nonsensical. Like, the reality here is COVID is COVID. It's where it is. It has nothing to do with anything else. I mean, I think it's better to put this on the league than put it on the players, to be honest.
No, there's a PR game going on here. If this could be all wrong. If the NHL and the PA come out together and say jointly, we're not going to the Olympics, and this is the reason why, then that's all fine and good. If it's the NHL that does it, and the PA doesn't stand by their side, then this is a PR game that you will have the PA using this as a weapon going forward. Well, they told us we couldn't go to the Olympics when we wanted to. Bull crap.
No, but
think about it. The owners didn't want this from the start, but the owners were fully willing to let the players go. Same with Gary Bettman. He gave him all of this rope, and not once did the players. I wonder, if the NHL didn't decide to do this, how long would it take the players to say they weren't going to go? January 10th?
I believe that the players and the owners decided not to do this together. From talking to people, I really think that that's the case. I think that
some players, not all players.
You're never going to get 100% agreement from everyone.
No, you're never going to get. But the PA and the NHL, Fair and Bettman agreed together on this thing, and I do believe that's how it will be announced. I think what you'll see,
and I think also people also got more gun. I think the players probably got a lot more gun shy about going to Beijing even before when the report was that you could be stuck there for as many as 5 weeks.
Right, that's a problem.
I would make, again in a all well and good that you want to represent your country, but if something occurs, from a health perspective, and you're stuck in that country for 5 weeks, it's responsibility to your family.
Well, this is why Kevin
play for you're contracted with. I think a lot of that ended up made some already that started. I thought the crack in the armor for the players.
I think that's what brought everybody together because, as Kevin said, Mike was right that they're not going to the Olympics, but for the wrong reasons. Like, it wasn't that the COVID thing actually it really was the 5-week thing that really did it. If that hadn't happened, the NHL probably would have just let the players go. The players probably would have gone. And
some of them would. But remember how the chronology went. Robin Leonard bows out, citing mental health issues. There was no criticism, obviously. Then John Tavares comes out and said he had reservations about going because he has a young family, and he got excoriated by Canadian fans on social media. Then Connor McDavid and Alex Pietrangelo come out and said they had the same reservations, and all of a sudden people realized with Omicron and with what's going on, and then the 5-week thing happened. It was a momentum of things going on.
Michael, it was a wave of sentiment moving closer and closer towards a non-participation.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think that's fair. One other thing to note as far as the Olympics, I don't believe any college is going to let any of their players go and play. I don't think any OHL team is going to let any of their players go and play. So I think it is literally just Spengler Cup players and players that are not under contract like in the U.S. and ECHL players and all of those kinds of players, but I don't think you're going to get them because, again, you could have like 3 or 4 kids from Michigan get stuck in Beijing and their season's over.
Yeah, right.
And so I don't think you'll have that happen.
Americans playing in the KHL or in Europe.
Yeah.
And Bobby Ryan.
And Bobby Ryan.
Is Bobby Ryan involved? That would make sense.
They've asked him a couple times if he. I would say that if he's asked, he definitely will play.
Yeah. No, you'll get. I mean, that'll be interesting to see. Like, will his stock rise because of that? It's weird. I mean, it's such a big stage. Somebody might actually buy into that. If he has a great tournament because he's an NHL player playing against Spengler Cup players.
Maybe Brian Giunta will be in there again.
Right, like that kind of thing. And that remember how effective he was? I mean, it was just kind of like it is. There's so many levels of hockey talent out there. It's just crazy, Like it's like
true.
You don't know. Like I played open hockey against ex NHL players.
Yeah, just keep your phone on it.
Rehab, right? I mean, I'm ready.
Wait a second. We want
the save, and it's all over there, Russ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Mike Paul. It's like Mike Palmenter in that old timers game, Toronto Detroit. He made this unbelievable split save and he tore his groin.
That'd be it for me, yeah.
As soon as it gets below 50 degrees after Saturday, maybe Eck can freeze his rink. Maybe.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying. No, but I think there's no question.
Fox on the run.
That we're gonna see. We're gonna see this. Yeah, we're gonna see.
We're gonna call them the Eck Olympics.
Right. I would go, just to go. It'd be fun. But this is the smart thing to do is no question is what they're doing. But I don't think it's going to be this big issue between the players and the owners and all this stuff. I think honestly it's going to come up very much like a mutual decision. And that's just from talking to people that I've talked to on both sides of it so far. There's not.
I hope that's the case.
There's no animosity. I haven't gotten one bit of animosity from either side on it. Like honestly, and usually I've talked to people who would tell you if there was animosity, and it just isn't. I mean, there really is. It really is just the reality of the situation. It's not. And Connor McDavid kind of was the key. Like him coming out and saying something that was the key to it all. Like, and as much as it seems crazy, it was the key that Connor McDavid would do. We're laughing. Everybody's laughing. What's going on, Anthony? You're just like Mike.
Trying to figure out what Mike's eating in the car.
Mike, every time you move here,
like from Mike and Russ. Mike's opening a Big Mac. I spotted. Yep. He needs to share it.
I was putting my face mask in the glove compartment.
Come on, Michael.
Jesus
like
Christ!
Tapping your spark plugs, Mike. It sounded so loud.
See, face mask, glove compartment. There you go.
There you have it. Oh, man, so let's. You know what we should talk about because Well,
I was going to say since we have half the Metro division represented here,
talk about the Metro.
We should do the Metro and do the Atlantic tomorrow.
Yeah, and I definitely want to get into also into the World Juniors. I mean, it's like the reality is. That's the game in town, and it'll be fun for them to have it. There's the stage was theirs, and I love that. I kind of like that, and I liked it last year when the stage was theirs. It's just like I love watching. I'll watch a World Junior game over an NHL game, at any point.
Yeah, I was going to be watching them anyhow. It's nice that the NHL Network will actually have all of them. It's the first time ever.
That's
because remember it used to be just like we'll show like. The U.S. only, and that was like that for a bunch of years. Then it was showing a little more. The only thing is they're canceling prelims, so you're only gonna have one day of prelims.
Okay.
I'm also part of the media, so I'll be able to bring in some quotes and other things. Good. So it'll be good. But we could do it tomorrow.
Okay, let's do that tomorrow. Let's talk about that tomorrow. All right, let's talk about the great Metro division that we all know so well for a little bit.
When I talk about my 5 Rangers when they only advertised that they had 4 going, that was my fun yesterday. They sent a tweet out about congrats to our guys going. They pictured 4 and they forgot one guy playing for the Czech Republic in the list they sent out.
We can't say Czech Republic anymore. It's Czechia.
Czechia, which is really again, it's like
I was corrected on that because I said it on the radio this morning.
Yeah, Czechia. It's like okay, you forgot the Slovak there.
Well, this is what it is.
Wrong country. That's the other.
I know.
It's a different country now.
I know. I know.
You still roll it out there like it's 1985.
I rolled it out there. I rolled it out there like the Russian tanks going into Prague in '68.
Get a new globe, Mike.
So Czechia. All right, that's good to know because it's funny.
I know. I fell into that either. I didn't know.
A lot of players have Czech players who I've had conversations with. Remember Jake Voracek specifically?
Yeah,
very much. It was Czechia when referring to it was Czechia, and it's been that way for some time. So it didn't
sink in for me though. It didn't.
Yeah, but most Czech players have referred to it as that, and it was going there. And I visited there a couple years ago, and it definitely was Czechia when you're
That's what it is,
Yeah.
right? Well, so I guess I was trying to go through our predictions a little bit, remembering where we were.
Oh yeah, how they working out?
Yeah, 2 minutes. 2 minutes for cross Czechia.
They're pretty interesting. So I was high on the Rangers, if you remember. They were my team.
I do remember.
And that's coming out pretty well. I was very low on the Capitals, so that's not coming out well at all. But I had we all had the Flyers about in that right spot where they are, pretty much.
Yeah, I had them sixth.
Yeah, they're right around there. I mean, I don't know. I think as I remember, like most of us at least. I checked this over really quickly, but I think we all definitely had the Islanders higher than they are, right? So
yeah, I had the Islanders second. I had them second.
I had the Islanders winning the division, which makes me
Same
look
here.
brilliant.
And probably the Devils playing a lot better than they were. Not necessarily to be better in the standings, but a lot better than we expected them to be. A lot better than they have been right now.
Well, I think the great.
Third. I had the Islanders the farthest down. I had them in third.
Well, I think the greatest overachiever based on where we predicted that they would be is probably Columbus, because Columbus has been respectable. And I had them dead last, and I had them, basically stick a fork in them.
I remember we all had them dead last.
I had them very low. They may have been dead last for me too.
Yeah,
that's a lot of credit. It's just I think we have to look at the Blue Jackets and just say, in how, what they looked like coming into the season, but how well many of these things have clicked. Now again, they've thrown some of late. They're definitely have thrown in some clunkers. But as a team overall, I mean the Voracek acquisition's been really good for them. 21. I mean, granted, only one goal, but 21 assists for 20 points to start the season. It's been pretty impressive. Bjorkstrand's been off to a fantastic start.
Yeah,
Laine, when he was healthy, was doing well.
He was doing great.
That was it. What they envisioned when they acquired Voracek. I mean, the thing was in Philadelphia was that I think Flyer fans wanted to see Jake shoot the puck more. Columbus is just like, Jake, do your thing. Just dish the puck, find it to Laine, and it was clicking until Laine was out of the lineup.
Yeah. And they've gotten decent two-way goaltending too. I mean, the whole key really this season has been about you have to have more than one goalie, right? You have to.
But let's not make a mistake. Elvis has established himself as the number one guy, and now Korpisalo is going to be the guy that they trade at the deadline and get probably a decent return for, because there are so many teams out there needing either a starter or a 1B. So I mean, so they made the calculation. Jarmo made that calculation last year when they signed Merzlikins to that long-term deal that he was the guy, and they proved to be right. But why don't we start at the bottom of the division? Just because I know that we talked a lot about them because they've been so bad. But what the Islanders do going forward, because again, I disagree respectfully with Kevin what he wrote last week. I think they're done. I don't care if they're mathematically in it. I think they're shot.
And I know you agree with me disrespectfully, because I kind of agree with Kevin. But yeah, continue.
I think that's fair to say. I think they're done too. I think they're done. I don't think they would have to win 10 in a row, and I'm not even sure that would do it.
No, it's not.
I think nobody expected Kyle Palmieri to be this bad, right? He was
nobody did.
He was much better in the playoffs. They also were hurt by COVID tremendously, right? The NHL forced them to play just looks worse and worse as the number of cancellations go on, right? And I was one who was saying I don't understand why they're letting them play. Ryan Pulak being hurt has hurt them tremendously. Also, has taken a major component. Goaltending hasn't been bad, but Sorokin isn't like what he was last year, and Varlamov clearly got off to a slow start because he was out.
Well, you know what the thing is? They really screwed that up, though. They should have sent him on a conditioning assignment. They didn't, and they threw him in cold. That was dumb.
Yep. And offensively, they got nothing going up front right now. Their offense is way. Look, they didn't score a ton last year, but this year, even now with Anders Lee back from his injury, they've been horrific. I mean, they just can't put the puck in the net at all.
And what Kevin pointed out, which was dead on, and we've talked about this a couple times on the show, is the fact that the cumulative effect of them losing Devin Taves because of salary cap problems, then trading Nick Leddy because of salary cap problems, then Pulak getting hurt. When you have one above average mobile defenseman and Noah Dobson, and the rest of them are average or below average, that is a killer. And unless they go out and trade for John Klingberg and get another mobile defenseman at the deadline, which I don't think is possible, and it'd be stupid for them to waste assets on a season when they're not really in contention anymore. That's an off-season problem that they have to fix, and that's going to be tough because they really don't have a lot of salary cap room.
Yeah, I think prospect-wise, there's some concern there too. I think they've lost guys, and unless you have guys that are really ready to jump straight in, that's that creates a lot of difficulty for the Islanders.
Yeah. I mean, I think Lou made a lot of mistakes by going with his heart instead of his head.
Yeah,
I really feel like, and Lou does do that. That is something that is probably his fatal flaw as far as the character.
I think he's trustworthy of players that have played for him in the past, and giving and trying to thinking that if I get him back, I can get a little more utility out of him, like for like Palmieri, like Parise.
Yeah.
And it's just not there anymore. There's reasons why Zach was bought out. And
they're a good
in a more limited role, he's not even close to what he had been.
I mean, I did not think Palmieri would go south this fast. I did not think that either. I thought maybe I did think the contract was still kind of ridiculous, but I thought he would get a couple good years out of him at least.
And that's the issue. It's like, okay, Parise is not the player he was 2 years ago, but you're paying him $750K. Chara is not the player he was 2 or 3 years ago, but you're paying him $750K. Those guys don't really hurt you that much, but having to play more minutes does. The problem is a guy making $5 million like Palmieri. Yeah. A guy like Brock Nelson, a guy like Anders Lee coming back from a major injury, who are not producing. Those are the killers.
Yeah, they have too many dead spots in the lineup. Doesn't matter what you're paying.
And remember what Minnesota did.
I can't blame Nelson because he's been hurt and he's still got 10 goals, right?
Nelson's been good.
What's killed you is you haven't seen any growth from Bouvillier. I mean, that's been an absolute killer, and it landed him in the press box. Even as good as Wallstrom has been, you look at his overall numbers, 8 goals in 26 games is rather disappointing.
Yeah.
Daly was hurt and he hasn't produced. You add in Barzal, clearly hasn't had the impact they thought he would. And then the blue line, they have nobody on that blue line who really can produce offensively, which creates all the pressure up front.
I actually think what Wallstrom's doing is fine. I think the Bouvillier thing is interesting to me because it's kind of like the same thing with Barzal in the sense that, Barzal learned how to play better in his own end, but Barzal plays better when he doesn't have to worry about playing better in his own end. And Bouvillier is the same way. And again, to change him rather than let him play to his strengths is a mistake that Trotz is making with him.
True. And the fact is, I keep going back to what the Wild did, by moving Suter out, by moving all those guys out. It's not just a matter of how much they're making, or they're in the room, and you need this team to be led by the players you want it to be led by. You want your best players to be leading the team. And that's true. And having those guys, Chara is a big presence. Parise is a big presence. These are big guys. It doesn't matter how much they're making. They show up in that room, and it's like Joe Thornton is a big presence. These guys are like,
but do you think that their presence is a negative? I don't think you can put the failing.
It is, Mike, and it is in terms of the fact that that there's only so much leadership to go around, and what happens a lot of times is they're the guys who should be taking over, the Beauvilliers, those kind of characters. They are slow to take over because they respect these guys so much. That's a very much a Canadian thing. And it's like they're not going to just jump up there. And this is what Bill Guerin knew in Minnesota. This is why he bought out Suter, who's still playing really well. And it was a dangerous thing to do for the cap's sake. But he knew that Suter was such a big presence in that room that he had to get
That's
out
true. It worked for the Wild. It did.
Yeah.
And the Devils did exactly the opposite of what the Wild did. They did exactly
now, okay, so let's. And I'm not looking at the standings, but I think the Flyers are 7th in division, if I may be wrong. But let's talk about them next, Anthony, because, they get rid of Vigneault. They've had, Kevin Hayes has been in and out of the lineup. I think Giroux has played pretty well this year, but Giroux is a situation where if they're in the place where they are right now, closer to the deadline, Are you moving the guy? I mean, there's a lot of questions with this team about construction. I mean, the Ellis injury and him not being available, Ristolainen, whether he's a deadline guy. I mean, there's a lot of questions with the Flyers.
We're just, again, at this point, we're kind of where we were kind of at the start of the season in many ways, like almost starting from scratch because we're well past that. It's again, a team with a 12-5 record. And just how they've gotten there has been, the roller coaster of roller coasters. I think, again, these are things that you explore with, again, I don't think the Flyers are ready to have those conversations yet. I think if this team was still in a full-on tailspin, they are certainly by no means out of the woods yet, despite there being 4-0-1 on their last 5.
Right.
If you're watching how this team is played, they have moments where they look like they're putting it, like the Ottawa game's perfect example, the most recent game they played. They look like they got everything clicking and going together. Again, it is Ottawa, granted, but still, the key thing is for this team to be successful, they have to be consistent from a process standpoint. They are not. They are not even close to being that way, and it's very easy for them to get knocked off off script. And it takes them a little bit to get themselves back on against better teams. They could have easily in the Montreal game been down 3-0 in that first period, if not for Carl.
Yeah.
The issue
they did not arrive on time. They're not
right.
Yeah. Mike Yeo said that. He said, they're seeing good things, but they're not there yet. And that's a completely fair, analysis to make. And now we're going to need to see going forward with injuries, with Farabee being back in the lineup. And he has become, again, we watched Joel Farabee, when he's in the lineup, again, when he's engaged the way he was in the Ottawa game, he's an absolute handful to deal with. But he also has been very easily taken when he wasn't, but before the shoulder injury, was still able to be taken out of his game fairly quickly. And is still a player that still has to learn.
I think the tough part, Ant, is if you look at the standings, we'll assume that maybe Detroit hangs in it for another month and then fades a little, but they still would have to hope that Columbus gets completely off track, and they would have to hope that Boston gets completely off track. I think the other teams are all pretty safe. They're going to make it, Pittsburgh included, because I think Pittsburgh has figured it out because they're goaltending. Yeah. So I think that's the thing that they have to climb, and they have games against Columbus left for sure, and it's not going to be easy.
This week is going to be this. I will tell you, going into this week, prior to the cancellations, this was definitely one of those weeks that if you were a Flyers fan, you were you were nervous because you had the Caps. That was going to be a major litmus test for you. You had the Penguins scheduled on Thursday in Pittsburgh before you got to the break. So I don't think anybody could have come out of that Ottawa game, despite the win, feeling confident that the Flyers were going to, be able to go into these two games this week and feel like, hey, they've got a really good chance to win. But the Flyers are a weird animal where they sometimes will completely play up and focus and really be a challenge for teams.
If they were an animal, they were push me, pull you. They are.
I mean, the one thing that bothers me about this turnaround is the language that's coming out of the room in the turnaround, and that is that they're saying they're doing this for each other. There's a big, you've heard this, right? It's like a big mantra. We're playing for each other now. We're playing for each other. I'm never a big fan of that because honestly, it's like when you make a coaching change, that's almost implying that the coach hasn't changed. We're just now going to play for each other. In this instance, I'm not. I've been on record saying I think that this team needs Rick Tocchet in the worst possible way, but I still stick by that.
Well, in this instance, Ack, they put in an assistant as the interim, so really it hasn't changed. It's somebody that they've. And now I don't know whether the plan, and we still haven't. They haven't announced.
There have been some tactical adjustments that they've gone.
Right. No, he's done a good job.
Some are not quite. Again, Mike Yeo being a two-time NHL head coach and having a modicum of relative success, not massive.
But Anthony, they haven't said anything about the interim tag. Like he's going to be.
They're not. But the read here, I think, is that I think, when he was brought in to be the head coach again, to be the Flyers head coach here, that nothing is promised. But also they're very much in a wait and see mode. And Fletcher was asked about this. He says, I'm not actively, again, publicly, not actively looking at coaches right now. And I think again, when you see the team at 4-1, he's kind of hoping that they're coming out a little bit more and that the process will get better and better as they go along.
So they haven't said he's going to be the coach for the rest of the year, not the interim.
They haven't said that, but they have not. They're not quote unquote not actively looking for coaches. They're in this weird state right now, Mike, where he's very much still the interim head coach, but there's almost this sort of if things continue in a positive direction. I mean, he may be just remain. He's in very much the same spot as Scott Gordon was.
Mm-hmm. I think they're not going to do anything now, Ant, with COVID being the way it is. I think got
it the whole way, and
I do think that now too.
I think if they were looking at other coaches, I think in this case, if they do decide to go to Tocchet, it will probably end up being in the off season.
Yeah,
right.
I think so
the end results of this season are.
But the reality of that is he might not be there in the offseason, Anthony. It's very possible that there's like 2 or 3 other coaches that are on the chopping block right now. And the reality is that Tocchet might not last till offseason. And that would be a huge.
But you also have to be convinced that Tocchet is, Tocchet's history as a coach it's okay. I can't tell you Mike Eo's had, he's had any more success than Mike Eo's had.
Right.
I think we're looking at it from ticket. I think you're looking at it from Flyer name, well-known ticket sales, that area of things. And, that's
I'm actually looking at it more like the kind of coach he is. I mean, there's no question that what you're saying, it's a PR perfect thing, right? But he also, he hasn't had the success, but he also had way less talent with the success he had. That when he's had success, it's been recently at least. In Arizona, he had way more success than he should have had in Arizona. And his ability to get this team has not, really when you think about it, Claude Giroux has never played under a former player like Tocchet. He's the coaches he's had have been
about a current. If you're referring to a player that is of a
player that's like sort of not in his era, but like closer to his era. Tocchet, a player that Giroux would have watched growing up playing, like a player that Giroux knows about. And that to me it does matter to these guys. Like Tocchet comes in and they know what he's about. They know he's tough. They know he's a Flyer. They know this is the whole thing. That does matter, I believe, to these guys.
If they regress to the mean, and later in the year, if they figure that they have to get the jump on teams that might be in the Tocchet market in the off season, that might be the entree of them hiring Tocchet. But I mean, if Yo continues to have success, then they're probably going to stick with him. Now, I just want to, because the Devils are a team that really intrigues me because I don't know how much talent. I mean, Jack Hughes and Dougie Hamilton, and there are a few other good players. I think they've in a way overachieved. I think there are a lot of holes in that lineup, but I do think that they have enough talent to be in the mix. I just don't think they're there yet, Russ. I think there's still a lot of development that needs to happen with certain players and a lot of holes that still need to be filled with that roster.
Yeah, no question. I mean, look, they have Shaq playing in the World Juniors. He's an up and coming defenseman. I'm not going to pronounce his name, Anthony. Not even going to try.
Oh, come on.
Nope. They do have a fair amount at the NHL level. They have added some other veterans.
I think it is.
I think next year could be better. I think they've done kind of like the same as they normally have, but they've developed some guys along the way, like Mercer. And I think Ty Smith is playing better. And I think even if the record isn't that much better, if you've advanced the young talent, then I think that could help start showing up better next year. And Jack Hughes will be healthy next year. I think you're looking at something a little better then. So, you still have Blackwood. It's just not going to be their year this year. But I don't think they're as competitive as we thought they would be. But it doesn't mean they're going to be easy to beat down the stretch either.
I know there's a bunch of Devil fans who I'm friendly with, and a lot of them are very dissatisfied with the job Ruff has done.
Right.
Yeah, I get that.
I know a lot of people have said,
understand that.
Why is he still here? Why is he still here? They haven't necessarily seen the growth that maybe you're seeing. Look, Mercer's probably come out of the blue. Nobody expected this out of him. I'd say Ty Smith has been okay. He hasn't been great. Granted, they got hurt. Bernier's played better in net than I think they thought. On the flip side, Blackwood's been out a lot. First with COVID, obviously not being vaccinated, then getting vaccinated now with the neck injury. But I just don't think collectively what you've seen out of that team is the expectations, especially with bringing Ruff in. And that's what a lot of people are not seeing, the ice product or what they thought, even if they'd be losing, just the manner in which they're losing.
Yeah, I mean, Brat's had a big year too, but I do understand the Lindy effect. And, you know, it's unfortunate. You do, when you watch him coach, you do see things that you would like to change, but I'm not going to completely dump on him. I think there are some things that have worked for him too.
They're getting good performances out of Brat, like you said. Andreas Janssen is having a really good year after a couple of years of sort of being lost. Now Bernier, they say it's a long-term injury for Bernier, so you don't know how that's going to affect things. So that might, send them tumbling down if Blackwood is out as well. But we lost Eck here. Hope we didn't lose him. Hope we didn't lose him. Oh no.
What's going on? It's just me. I don't see you guys.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can't.
There we go.
Okay.
We're okay. I just have to go for a second. I'll be right back.
I thought you were in the lunar module. I didn't know what happened.
There.
I know I have to end the show. But
Anthony's got to go. Why don't you let Anthony kind of wait?
I'm in Anthony's cave here.
Yep, okay. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Anthony, very much. Appreciate it.
So Devils, I think they're, oh God. Devils, I think, are going to be in. Oh boy, X got to end the show because I'm still off on the road.
I know.
We can see you.
No, but there he is.
He's back.
He's
I said I'll be back. I'll be right back. I will end the
show. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. We appreciate that. But
carry on, Mike.
No, what I was going to say is the Devils. I think. They're going to trend downward. They're going to be ups. They're going to be downs. I think there's some talent there, but I don't think they're there right now. Pittsburgh, Russ, really has intrigued me because, I picked them to finish, I think, 6th, and they've been able to weather the storm without Crosby early on. They've been able to survive without Malkin. They're getting good to great goaltending out of Jari and Casey DeSmith. They're sort of winning by committee with guys like Evan Rodriguez and Bluger and Aston Reese and all these other guys just sort of chipping in.
They've been able to sign good low-cost free agents. They've been able to turn 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th rounders into NHL players. Right. They still have their core. They still play really hard. They didn't give up on Jari. They went 35 straight penalty kills without a goal until the Devils finally got a power play goal on them. Mike Sullivan's maybe doing the best job of his career this year because he's had the least to work with, but he's got these guys fired up. And I believe I picked them to make the playoffs because of what I saw in practice when I was at the Fall Classic in the USHL because I saw them practice every day, and I was really impressed with the way they were skating too.
I think you had them 4th or 5th, but you had both wild cards coming out.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I don't want to miss anybody here. Washington was another team I thought was going to finish out of the playoffs because Backstrom not being there. They've been able, Ovechkin might be having the best year of his career.
He is.
Because he's scoring goals like crazy. He's leading them in assists. Without Backstrom, he's had to be a playmaker. Now I'm still questioning the goaltending with Vanacek and Samsonov. I need to see, proof. Yeah, and I look like Phil Collins and no jacket required here, Russ.
Yeah,
they've surprised me with how stable they've been.
Yeah, I think, again, a good sign for them was when they sent Michael Kempney down and felt like their defense was good enough. I bought in. I was like, okay, they're obviously seeing something good here. Laviolette saw something good. It is good. Feovari's been really good. Connor McMichael has done a good job as a young player. They've worked in a lot of guys. Carlson's healthy. When Carlson's healthy, we all forget about him, but he's still one of the best offensive defensemen in the league. Yeah. Orlov is still really good. I mean, I know he and Kuznetsov are out this moment with COVID, but they've been good too. they're still dangerous. And you know what? Oshie, same thing. He's definitely bounced back. They are a dangerous team, and they're just like, hey, don't forget about us. And I picked them for the playoffs because I was just like, you know what? I'm not ready to throw dirt on them yet, even though last year they were wildly inconsistent.
No, okay.
But I do have to run, guys.
They've done a lot of this without Backstrom too, and now they have Backstrom back.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's impressive. But I think the Rangers are the team we really have to talk about here.
Well, we have two more teams, Rangers and Carolina. So let's talk about the Rangers, Jan. Before you have to go, if you have to go.
A while. I'm good.
Okay. I've been extremely impressed with the Rangers. They're getting great goaltending as Shesterkin. I know Russ was skeptical about him coming back after about 7 to 10 days, but he was activated. We'll see how healthy he is. But Georgiev, I think, filled the void pretty well. I think they're getting really good play out of their defense. Fox is proving he's not a fluke. I think he's playing great this year. I love Keandre Miller as a young defenseman. Offensively, I mean, Panarin is carrying the ball. I still think they're a little weak up the middle. I don't know if that's an area that they can really address before the deadline, but if they can, I think they're as good as anybody in the East.
So we kind of work from the back forward, right? So Shesterkin, obviously the extra week now helps that they're off, right? Because if there was concern, he wasn't going to be healthy. And I think generically, a lot of us have concerns because he's had leg injuries or lower body injuries. I think this is the third or fourth one he's had since he's come into the league. And one of the things, I've written about is changing up some kind of training regimen to make sure this doesn't happen. I think Georgiev has raised his stock again because his stock, at least amongst Rangers fans and maybe in the NHL, was pretty low. Right, he's making $2.425 million this year. He's going to be a RFA after the year. Probably going to become too pricey, so they're going to probably look to move on for him. But Shesterkin clearly was carrying the load. I think he'd won 8 of his last 9. When you look at the blue line, third pairing is still a work in progress. Patrick Nemeth has been a stalwart on the penalty kill, but been pretty wolf bad in terms of 5-on-5. Niels Lundqvist hasn't given them the boost that they've expected, which partly because, he went right from the SHL to the NHL. With really no stop in the AHL in between, and probably could have benefited from it. The benefit is, though, they do have a raft of young defensemen in the minors that they can kind of tap into, and there's a lot of rumors that they may look to acquire another one in the marketplace. Fox has been unworldly, as per usual, even in his own zone. The questions you have with Fox and Lindgren is teams have started to pressure them and bang them a lot more than they used to. Calgary did it a couple times. That was kind of seemingly the game plan now. Hit them, take them out of their comfort zone. Don't give them the room up front. I mean, we've seen Trouba's just been blasting the hell out of people. He's probably been their best overall defenseman. The issues with Keandre Miller is they both haven't been great in their own zone, ceding a lot of opportunities. And also Miller needs to be a lot more physical, which hopefully will come. Overall, the defense has been solid. I do still think they need a third pair guy to add to that unit to make them better. Up front, down the middle, I think they're okay in the first two, right? Zibanejad hasn't been great, but the last couple of games you started to see the zib that we got used to, and we know once he gets on a roll, that roll can last an exceedingly long time. That's the detriment of the break coming now because it really looked like he was finding his game. And Ryan Strome continues, in a lot of Rangers' eyes, to be undervalued. I mean, you kind of take for granted the chemistry that he has with Panarin, but not everybody can kind of have that chemistry. Where they are weak is that third line because Philip Peel is proving he can't be a center. They're probably going to move Barclay Goodrow over there right now to the third line. That may be something they look to add at the deadline. Also, with trading Pugnevich, and I don't want to go off because guys on my blog are tired of hearing me talk about it. I understand the salary cap reasons, but look at what he's doing in St. Louis, right? He's becoming the star that everybody thought he might be, but there were cap reasons. Sammy Blais may have been that second pair right winger. Now he's down. Now you have Dryden Hunt playing in the top 6 where he's really not a top 6 guy. They've moved Paco up, and he's finally started to show some signs that he can play there. You might have to move Lafreniere up or Hedl to the wing and try to mix and match, and maybe you move Hunt down to the third line to play with Goodrow, Hunt, and Gauthier, and they become kind of more of a checking center of a scoring line. And we know, look, the one thing I have to admit, I was dead wrong on Ryan Reeves because he's had a much bigger impact on this team than I thought he'd be in a positive direction. So I will say that overall, there are a lot of positive signs. There is some tweaks around the edges, but here's the fun part. The Rangers have about $9 to $10 million in cap room they can play with this year. So you can add guys on expiring deals. There's a lot of guys who are out there. Niederreiter's a guy that's been talked about. If Pittsburgh ever fell out of it, Jeff Carter's a guy that's been talked about. Weirdly enough, Dustin Brown is a guy you might be able to add in for the playoff experience if LA decides to move on to them. There's at least 8 to 10 guys you can add, both up front and on the defense. And because you have so much cap room, they can add those guys in and kind of seamlessly deep in the lineup, which needs deepening right now.
Phil Kessel.
I mentioned Kessel. Everybody makes fun of Kessel. The guy's going to have, look, you can, like, I know you don't love him. Guy's going to have 400 goals by the end of the year, and he's got over 900 points. You know what?
Yeah.
Guy that's got 400 and 900, I don't take that for granted in terms of the type he's done. And he may not have the body. He's got a body built by, I'll use hot dogs because I know you guys love the GIFs, but he's a guy who's a proven scorer. And honestly, you put him on that team. Here, do me a favor, go skate next to Panarin or Strome, and you know what? Not the worst thing in the world to have on your top six.
He has a body made by Oscar Mayer. Quickly.
Totally agree. And I think that, I think that, I mean, Shesterkin is just, getting him back is going to be the key, obviously. But he was fantastic, and it was really impressive. I was really worried when he went down. It's just been impressive how they've managed it. And I think Alon has shown just to be a great coach for this group. I think that he really has blended perfectly with these guys, which is what I was hoping that would happen. That's when I predicted them. I really felt like this was the right kind of team for Gallant to run, and that's what you're saying.
So that one quick thing on Pittsburgh before I get to it, right? The one thing that I think they do need is another guy in their defense, right? I think Matheson's played better than expected. I think Marino's been better. We just know how good Letang is. You had one more guy there, right? And up front, you're getting Malkin back. Rodriguez has taken a step forward. We know how good Jake Gensel is. Crosby being back. I don't know if they need another top guy in the top 6 or top 9 in terms of their forwards, but you had another solid blue liner back there. And granted, cap constraints are going to be an issue.
Yeah.
But to me, that's kind of the area where I do think they have a little bit of a crying need. And Washington, look, they're now got Backstrom back. You have Backstrom, Kuznetsov, and McMichael as maybe your top 3 centers. That's become a lot more deeper lineup than it was even a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now you can't dispute the success that Carolina has had during the regular season. I think that they've weathered, the good year, and Kevin's talked about this a few times. The good year that D'Angelo has had has sort of softened the blow of losing Dougie Hamilton. My question again, and I know I'll act as Russ here because I know that he was on a Charlotte radio station and had to explain what regular season Freddie versus playoff Freddie is. And I think that is the big question for Carolina, because right now, if they get the goaltending that they're getting right now from Freddie Anderson, then they could go to the Eastern Conference Final or even to the Stanley Cup Final. But we know that Freddie Anderson, and I still think he's a good enough goaltender and he's played well enough in the playoffs. I don't think Carolina is going to put all the onus on him like Toronto did in his first 4 years, but we have to see that. We have not seen him have playoff success since I think 2015 with Anaheim.
Yeah.
So we need to see if he can carry the ball and run with it. And that's a tough division if you're facing Ovechkin or Crosby or whoever in the first round. It's going to be a tough go for them.
I'm not convinced Carolina can be like, can run the distance. Like I think that I do feel like it does feel to me like they're going to run out of steam a little bit. And I think Freddie Anderson's a big part of that. I really do agree with you. And I think that, I'm amazed that Anderson, what they're getting on Anderson right now, as we all kind of are. But at the same time, he has shown the abilities to do this at times in regular seasons, like you said, Mike. And I think that this is a really well-built team with a couple real big stars on it that no one knows are stars. That's the thing that Carolina has going for them. No one seems to realize what Aho is about,
Well, then if they don't, they haven't been paying attention.
I know they haven't been. But this team gets so little press. It's crazy, and they really are. This team is very, very, very good, and but they're not perfect either. They have. We saw last year what happened to them when things start to go wrong. They go wrong really fast for this team. And that's why I just don't know that they have the distance. I picked them to finish second.
So here's what I'll say. You look at Jarvis, who stepped in, guy who's proven he can stay in the NHL, gives him, what Svechnikov is. He's having a good year, not a phenomenal year. Aho's having a brilliant season. Trocheck, a very slow start. He started to wake up. We know that Kokoniemi has also started to find his game a little bit, right? I mean, Derek Stepan gives him some playoff experience. I mean, the guy who I'm looking forward to having a big second half and he's dealing with concussion is Martin Necas, right? If Necas plays like he has the last 2-3 weeks, that lineup becomes, those top 3 lines become amazingly deep, where I do think they're going to look to add as another blue liner, right? Even though they lost Hamilton, as Michael said, D'Angelo has been great filling in and making $1 million. We know how good Slavin is. We know how good Pesce is. Shea's been very good. Look, losing Kovic is not the greatest thing because we don't know how good Anderson's going to be. Ronta's had some injury woes, but he gives him a backup. But overall, you look at the collective whole of that team, and to me, they might be the deepest team overall. Maybe not the most starstruck, right? You look at Washington and Pittsburgh, who have bigger names, but you look at the collective whole of what that team can do and the mixing and matching they can do in that top line, given the talent around them. As Mike said, you're not going to know about Anderson, but the problem is, Mike, you're not probably going out and adding another goalie at the deadline because the two guys you have already, unless, God forbid, one of them gets injured. So what you see on that team is probably what's going to be on that team moving forward, unless the viewpoint is that they need to kind of get another forward up front because they don't know what Jarvis will be down the road in the playoff time. But overall, I still think they might be the class to beat in the division. If they don't win the division, overall to kind of come out of that division from a playoff perspective.
They might be able to get away with a top 9 rental that won't cost them a lot up front, but on defense, I think they're going to be in the Ben Sherratt sweepstakes. I think them
a good fit for them.
Yeah, them and Edmonton and a couple other teams that are looking for left side.
If the Rangers kick the tires there also.
They might as well because
they're a really good fit for them. I think so. We got to go, guys. Running out of time. Really great job, everyone. Thanks, guys. We will talk to you all tomorrow. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you.
Get home safe, Mike.
Yeah, be safe.